Welcome, everybody. This is Soul Search and Destroy, and I have here a super special guest. You know him, you love him, and he's officially TikTok famous. It's the one and only FrankJavCee. Welcome.
Hello, Internet. How is everyone doing tonight? Woo, yeah, applause. Everyone goes crazy. No, what were we talking about? We're talking about earthquakes. You want to start off with earthquakes?
Indeed, I'd love to talk about earthquakes and rain and sun and all the sorts of outrageous weather we have out here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's a good topic. Whenever you write a song after a weather event, when it happens, your streams go up. So that's why I've been making a bunch of songs. I have Earthquake, I got Raining in LA. Thinking about doing one called Tropical Storm, maybe another one Hurricane. You know,
I wonder if it's
just for whenever it happens.
I wonder if that's inspired by recent events.
I mean, yeah. I mean, all art is inspired by recent events.
That's true. On that note, let's get the ball rolling and start talking about you and your music and what you do. So,
okay.
Question number 1. When did you start making music?
I guess I've always been musical. I mean, I remember being like a little kid and like making up songs and singing, and I still do this to this day. I just like singing, dancing, making melodies. But one of my favorite things is one of my biggest inspirations is Quincy Jones, and I recently read this book that he wrote like later in life about his as a jazz musician, as a producer. Like one of his big recalling things that he says is music is the only real magic that exists in real life, and melodies are given to you by God. So like, I don't know, I'm very spiritual. I'm very into like, spiritual realm. I like to believe in energies, frequencies, and that's all music is kind of like putting your energy out there and having other people call to that feeling. Like that's why I'm doing this millennial like aesthetic in the background, because like that's the vibe of vaporwave and internet trends right now, is reliving this utopia, and we're all trying to create our own utopia. So like, yeah, I just I don't know, music is like fun. I don't know if you follow me on like Twitter or on Instagram, but I'm really into like wizards. So like I like to believe like each little song I make is a little spell. So that's a gist of it.
I mean, music is magic when you think about it. It's like the highest frequency, and you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who hates music in general. I mean, there's the bad guy in Footloose, but he doesn't count. So,
yeah, he's not real.
No, he's not real. But yeah, that music, you're right, does have there is a sort of spirituality, or at least a sort of higher consciousness that's found in a lot of musicians, especially ones who really love what they do.
Yeah, like it's something that I'm passionate about. Like when I decided to make music my life, I was, what's funny is as a kid, I thought music was dumb. But that's because like as a kid, all the other kids around me were like really gatekeepy with music, like, oh, emo this, metal that, rap this, and they were like very like segmented off into little like cultures and stuff, and I never felt like I could just do all of it. And so I think it took me until like in high school, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna love everything. I'm not gonna say this is dumb, this is bad. I'm gonna appreciate all forms of music. And when I opened my mind and my heart up to that, like it opened up a new realm of possibilities, because at the end of the day, music is all about communication. You're basically saying like, this is how I feel. So right now I've been in like a really optimistic music creation mood, where it's like I want people to feel good. So that's why all my new songs are upbeat. They're all party songs. I do have like an album I'm in the works of that's like about my personal life, and it's like very moody, but like it's not the type of music you listen to at a party. It's like the type of music you listen to as like to tell a story, but like a lot of my stuff is like everywhere. Like I produce for like everyone. I recently did a rap collab with these two comic artists, 𝗦𝗂𝗍𝗪 and YOLOSwag420, and I helped mix and master their beat and like arranged it for them and everything. So that's out on Twitter.
Or don't you mean X?
I did that like that. Oh yeah, I forgot.
I mean,
Twitter is always
it's always going to be Twitter. It's always going to be Twitter. And and that note you're making about optimism, and we definitely lived through the same era, man. I remember how gatekeepy everyone was about music, and unfortunately I also used to ascribe to that mindset too, and it didn't make me enjoy music as much. But when you're a teenager, your clan is like where you fit.
Yeah,
so important. I think it's where a lot of people's minds are now. And this note you're making about your music being optimistic and pairing it with these optimistic visuals, excuse me, that was a Freudian slip, because
it's a very virtual visual connection.
Well, here's the thing about vaporwave, is that it originally started as a sort of like a critique of that utopia, but now that we've lived through some really actually truly difficult times, people are like, you know what, that was actually not a bad idea. And so vaporwave has kind of lost its irony. And I think you and quite a few other artists are responsible for this sort of mindset, from this sort of like critiquey, very negative look into something that's like, you know what, this is something that was good. This is something that is good, and we should embrace this and feel, and we should allow ourselves to feel good.
Mm-hmm. But I do think, like, with our art, we do kind of create the realities we want to see. Like, the crazy thing about Vaporwave is it was like the past was predicting the future, and then in the future we were all making fun of how the past was perceiving of it while it was happening. But Vaporwave is already aging, so it's like there is a lot more genuine authenticity where people aren't as like, I don't know how familiar you are with my work, but my first ever viral video was how to make Vaporwave, and it was me being really satirical because at the time I was a bunch of
I loved that video.
Thank you. And one of them was like, oh, Vaporwave is deep, you wouldn't understand it. And it was very gatekeepy, like, oh no, Vaporwave isn't for you. So because of, I felt like really insulted by that when I was like, I feel like music should be for everyone. So I made that video making fun of that person and like their mentality, but I didn't know it was going to be seen by over 1 million people within that year. So that was like my first ever taste of like affecting the great internet consciousness. So I'm really happy that with all these Vaporwave festivals, because I just came back from New York. I went to go to Econ 2023, the last Econ ever. But there was a lot of other side shows around, like Slushy Fest. I performed at Slushy Fest with the Sonic the Hedgehog hat that I threw out, and then this guy caught it, and he was like all happy. And then after the set, he was like, "You want it back?" And it was all sweaty, and I was like, "Sure."
That thing was probably a museum piece at this point.
Yeah, people were touching it, but like I left it at my friend's house in New York, so he has the history. But yeah, it was super fun. I loved going, because like, okay, here's the thing. Like I talk to people about this and like they get like all like but I think Vaporwave right now is in its cult period. So there are like cult figureheads and there's like different factions, and people like, one of the first thing about a cult is you change your name. What did we all do in the scene?
We change our name.
Our vapor...
Yeah, you're FrankJavCee. I'm Soul Search and Destroy. Yeah. I mean, people thought I was an Ivysaur until recently. So yeah, you're right. I mean, well, Vaporwave is growing up. It's officially a teenager now. The first instance of Vaporwave, I think, was like very early in the 2000s or even 2009. So it's old enough to, well, it's not old enough to drive or do any of the fun stuff you get to do in your teen, but it's growing up. And you're right, it is sort of in like this cult and celebrity phase. And and just like when we were growing up with emo and such, there's some gatekeeping, which is the negative side of that. But you're right, this community is so welcoming. I think more people than not are like, come to us, come to our open arms.
It's just like, make your own music. The thing I love about this community is we're all very creative. We all found our own niche, whether it be music production, whether it be talking about it, archiving it, like what you're doing, making mixes and recording. Like, this is important, like getting that history just like crystallized and having it sit on YouTube and having people, because like my biggest thing is like, we're living in the present, but like this being a record 50 years from now, for all we know, this could probably blow up, get 1 billion plays, you know, like things like my song, when we were talking about going viral on TikTok, I have my song Simpsonwave 1995. I released that in 2016, and it took approximately 7 years before like people on TikTok just used it as a sound. One of the things we were talking about, like Utopias, that song is used to promote cyberpunk cities in China right now, or just like the feeling of something dystopian, or like something from the future, and like it just took off. And right now that's it's like life-changing for me in a different way. Like I'm seeing it grows outside of me. Like when you make a piece of art, sometimes you make it really personal and it's like, this is mine, but it's like a child, you know, so like eventually it kind of like goes on and it has its own life, and I'm watching that happen before my eyes, and it's very interesting.
Simpsonwave 1995 has gone on to marry, have children, and some of those children are cyberpunk dystopian kids. And by the way, I love that song. It's such a creative take on the resonance sound. And on that note, next question. So how did you discover Vaporwave? How did you get into this community in the first place?
Well, because I've always been very internet. I mean, if you're on the internet, I feel like you've seen everything. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm afraid I do.
Connected, you'll see. Like, this is one of those genres that is very distinctly internet. So I always knew about it. I was always on 4chan. I was on Moo. I was on B. I was on X a lot because I love like supernatural stuff. Like when I was younger, I wasn't like an edgelord. I was more of a lurker. For the longest time, I was really scared to post. So I would just read. I would just consume everything. And then I think during like the Facebook renaissance is when I finally came into my own, and I was like posting on things. I was joining as many groups. I remember I added like 5,000 friends, and it was just because I was just like joining music groups and just click, 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 click. And if there was a musician I like, I'd add them. And then like I want to say like 2015, I had 5,000 friends, and I was just getting so many messages every day because I was just like, you know, when you're young, you're annoying and you want to just talk to everyone. I'm still like that. I'm very extroverted, although now it's more like in real life. So like I go out in public and I go up and press X on people. I'm like, so how you doing? Who do you know? What do you like? What's cool around here? You know?
So you got into Vaporwave because you were just super friendly and you just wanted to, you know, meet people. I mean, that kind of, for me, you know, sums up this community where, like, it is kind of like the internet. If you've seen everything, and I think in a weird way, that's kind of made us more welcoming. By the way, in 2016, that was a bit of a slip on my part, is when I discovered Vaporwave through Simpsonwave. Okay, and then I found your song, set to Simpsonwave footage. Yeah. So you had a part in me, you know, getting into this and starting Soul Search and Destroy and doing all this sort of thing. So it's really interconnected.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually added Lucian Hughes on Facebook. And he's the main guy from England who just made like sad Bart edits before.
Oh my god. Yeah, before he made Teen Pregnancy and Crisis and all those other really famous videos.
Yeah, so we used to just talk and we were like, hey, do you want to make Simpsonwave stuff? Because like, okay, here's you know, I'm always like interconnected. There's always like some drama. So back in the day, Home on Tumblr was known as Slime Tony. I think that was his URL.
Yes.
And he was really popping. And he said that he saw his record in my Vaporwave video, and he said he cringed, and it made me like really upset. Like I was like, are you saying my videos are cringe? So that's why I resonance with my own synths, my own style and stuff, and put it to Simpsonwave footage because I was like making fun of him for calling me cringe because he was like way bigger than me at that point. Because I think it had like, on the Tumblr days, it was so sad. I remember I used to like open up Tumblr and search my name. I still search my name. Like, I'm gonna be real.
We all do. We all do.
Per se. So he had said like my videos made him cringe, and he had like 150 notes, which was like so many notes to me. And I was like, oh my god, all these people hate me. So I made that fun of him, and then like added the Simpsonwave footage. I actually had a DVD. There's another video I did called what was it? How to, what's his name? He was like a big producer.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and I bring up a DVD where I'm watching season 6 of The Simpsons. That was the footage I used because I actually got the DVD, put it in my computer, ripped the footage, and just edited it. So that's why like my Simpsonwave video has like really HD because like at the time there wasn't a lot of clips. Now it's like because of Simpsonwave, like there's so many clips, so many memes, so many like people made art out of The Simpsons. Like The Simpsons became a genre because it's like very Americana. It was almost like a canvas for people to put their own art on, and then of course it spread out from there, and people like Vaporwave is all about like reusing, you know. It's like
it's the ultimate, it's like the apex of postmodern media.
Yeah, it's creating a feeling out of pre-existing stuff. So it's like Plunderphonics, you know, came first and all this other stuff, but I've really liked the idea of turning something that's familiar and making it haunting. So that's like where Simpsonwave comes from.
Exactly. So
oh yeah, DJ Mustard. That was the guy. I made fun of DJ Mustard, and in the video I said I just watched season 6 of The Simpsons, and then Home made that post. I got really salty. I made a recreation of Resonance, made a video to it. 7 years later, people on TikTok are using it to promote like just weird stuff. Like there was this one YouTuber who used it, and he's like, remember ladies and gentlemen, the government would never lie to you, and then my song drops in the background and it shows like all this conspiracy theory stuff.
I mean, I think your song is more like celebratory. It's more magnificent. It sounds more epic to me than dystopian, but that's just my connotation.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, no worries. Speaking of that, earlier you mentioned an album. Do you have any major projects that you're working on now? Do you have any major things you're working on now?
I have a lot of stuff. The thing is, like, I consider myself not like one genre. Like, I think Vaporwave is what's most latched on to me because I was like one of the first personalities and person that talked about it. Because I remember when I first came on in the scene, like I got into Vaporwave 2013 to 14 on Tumblr, and in that era you couldn't be a face, you had to be a persona, you had to hide behind things, you had to be faceless, nameless, and that's what gave the art more credibility. Where I showed up and I'm like, hi, I'm Frank, this is what I think about music, and because of that a lot of people were mad. I remember one of the first times I blew up was because I don't want to give out his name because like he's still kind of problematic, but he was like talking mad trash about him and being like, Frank is the worst artist, and he used to get his fans to like just comment under my post, be like, this guy's better, you suck, and all this other stuff. Like,
so he was one of those that breed still unfortunately exists.
Yeah, but it's like really small, because I think when it became real, like Vaporwave reached out to the real world, because I remember I was doing shows with like Vaporwave-esque leaning in like 2016, 17. There wasn't a lot of people, but now it's like a mainstream thing where everybody knows. It's an art movement. Everybody knows about it, and like we're trying to discover what it is live. So like all these new shows, they're Vaporwave aesthetic, but like the music will be future funk, it'll be upbeat, it'll be techno, it'll be dance, Y2K, because like you can play slow stuff live. But the issue with that is you have a large group of people, and it's just like, 80 beats per minute. That's more of like head bobbing stuff. But venues, they're made for going crazy.
Yeah. Well, Vaporwave is becoming a legitimate movement in its own right. Like you said, we are seeing signs of it entering popular culture at large. 5 years ago, you would not have had parties centered around Vaporwave. Not even like 3 or 4 years ago. That was only just starting. Yeah. And now it's become, well, I don't want to use the term respectable because it's always been respected, but now that more people know what it is, it can reach concert status. Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be just a venue. You could be like a rock star, a pop star. People will dance, but people can also do the head bobbing or the contemplating when they play a slower song. I think that's where we're kind of headed.
Yeah. I mean, we technically met at a Vaporwave night. We met at a City Pop night down in LA.
Yes.
And I really loved those nights. It was so trippy to see, like, we were like, everyone there was just like, let's pretend it's 1980s Japan, and we had everyone in business suits and business attire, and they were all dancing to all this City Pop. Yes. And it was like a dream, but it was like a dream that was real.
Yeah, the dream had come true. By the way, audience, the party we were referring to is by Tune in Tokyo, Plastic City. There's also Shibuya Starlight. It is centered around City Pop, which is a major genre influence in Vaporwave. I will talk about that in another video. But for now...
I'm also wearing Crystal Nostalgia merch.
Yes. The ultimate Y2K, Future Funk, and Vaporwave party in Los Angeles at the High Tide Club in Little Tokyo. If you are in the area, it happens at least once a month. I highly recommend you check it out.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Fun. And Frank is usually one of the many DJs that gets to play.
Yeah, I played the first one. I remember playing the first one, and I was playing some like New Jack Swing.
I was
just
there
looking out at the crowd, and they were just all like, my favorite thing about, I wanted to become a DJ not because I want attention. I don't want people to look at me. I wanted to become a DJ because I like looking at people have fun. My favorite thing is looking out in the crowd and just watching people go crazy with each other, like having a good time.
It's like the ultimate people watching experience. You put down a certain song and people go nuts. And for all future DJs of the world, Frank has done this, and I recommend you do it too. You want people to love you, play Alice DJ's Better Off Alone, and then you will have friends for life. And
I just love that song. That's like my favorite song. And it's also a very generational thing, because I realized I'm aging into it, but like I always wanted, as a kid, I would see all the club scenes, and I was like, I want to do that. And then as I aged, like the music kind of disappeared. So that's what I loved about the retro nostalgia of Vaporwave, is I could play those type of songs, and it somehow fits within the whole like vibe.
The cultural context. Yeah.
Yes.
So your new album is about your personal life, and it's a slower, more contemplative piece compared to...
So I have this one on the back burner called Funny Man, and it's an alternative rock album about the positive and negative side effects of being considered funny. It's a sequel to I Love Hating You, which is my alternative rock release, where I was going... It was a quarantine album where I was highly caffeinated and very sad, so it was all alt rock. So this new one I have called Funny Man, very alt rock, very, I guess, self-reflective of what it means to be funny. When it's out, it's out, and I hope we'll get it, because there's a lot of weird things. Like, I was really into clowns, so like I got really into like, what is a jester? What does it mean to be funny? What does it mean to be colorful? What it means to be an entertainer with that. I want to create this feeling because like as an artist, I like making people feel happy and sad. And so, and all the feelings in between, like, I don't know how often you see my stuff, because a lot of people say I'm annoying online, but like I constantly be pushing out stuff that's like, oh, this could make you laugh, oh, this could make you think, oh, this could make you happy, this could make you sentimental. Like I like making people feel like they're on a roller coaster when they hang out with me.
There's something to that. I mean, in Shakespeare plays, the jester is the one character who speaks the truth.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I talk about in that album is like, when you joke, you're secretly telling the truth sometimes, and that's part of what being a musician is like, a lot of the time I create fantasies, and sometimes it's very hard for me to tell the truth in my songs. And with these songs, it's like, okay, but here's how I actually feel about my situation where I'm at, because like a lot of the times it's not funny, but I try to create this persona, this character that I am having like, you know, a good time, but you know, I'm a human being, I have real ups and downs, and I'm not constantly showing all my downs and just being like, look at this good thing.
Yeah, well, like you said, you are optimistic and you want people to feel that optimism, but there's a sort of vulnerability that comes with being optimistic. You have to be willing to look at things being hard if you are going to be optimistic, you know. And I think that's where that comes from. What software and instruments do you use?
FL Studio, even though they tried to sue me for giving away pirated copies of their software to people on YouTube. Did I ever tell you this story?
No, you did not. You're going to have to share it now.
Yeah, this is like a huge FrankJavCee lore. So during 2014 to 2018, I was very active on YouTube, where I'd make like, I want to say like 3 or 4 videos a month. Like it was like almost a weekly thing. I'd do how-tos, how to this, how to that.
Yes.
And I would use pirated software because I was broke. I didn't have any money. So like I would just, pirate, would just, do samples. I'd ask people for VSTs and stuff. So FL Studio, they saw my videos because they were huge. I remember my How to Vaporwave was like 2.7 million. I opened up my FL Studio, in the corner it would say like cracked by Team Air, because it was the hackers that cracked it. So in my description I would just give away the torrents to crack FL Studio. I may not be responsible for 100,000 downloads of Chinese spyware on American computers all across America.
I think you can be forgiven.
So I had to take down, I want to say like between 12 videos. I saved them in a zip file, but I was like really depressed when this happened because it was like my whole livelihood. I have a weird feeling like things happen for reasons. So that's when I started focusing on music, focusing on, doing all that other stuff. And FL Studio is the main DAW. I still use it to this day, even though they took down my YouTube videos. This is how I make music. And I play all the instruments except for tuba because it's big.
So, last question. As both a musician and a DJ, what is your favorite song of yours to perform, and what is your favorite song to play that's not yours when you're doing a set?
Well, we all know it's Alice DJ. I just love that song.
How did I know? How did I know? It was just that
as a little kid.
Big old smile you had on your face right before you dropped it. I was like, okay, I know he's gonna. Yeah.
And
you
just like, it's a banger. I just love it. It's like,
as
a little kid, that was like, my stim song. And even to this day, like, I listen to it and just go crazy. Like, if I listen to it at the gym, I'll instantly get like 1,000% energy and just go like crazy.
Amazing cardio song.
Yeah, I love cardio. It's like 137 beats per minute. It'll make the blood flow. My favorite song, Sax of the Night. It's like, it gives me the same feeling. It's very 90s. I get to play my sax. As soon as I'm playing my sax, like, people go crazy. Like, that's one of the things is I like when people film me. I don't know. I have like this electromagnetic sensitivity where I just could feel when something is filming me. So like whenever people phone and start filming me, it feels like it's giving me energy and I could just like do it.
It's like getting plugged into with a battery. Like everyone, it's kind of like that scene in Frankenweenie where everyone brings the dog back to life by their car batteries.
Yeah, it's like attention. I mean, I am super extroverted. I need to talk to someone at all times or listen to something. I can't just like sit down and not do anything. I have to constantly be moving. And that's why I do it. And also, like, we were talking about, I have like a serious dark album. I also have like a lighthearted album that's very city pop. It's like I was listening to, what's his name? Ginger Root. I really want to make like a very city pop-esque album that's just optimistic, very pastel. So that's what I'm looking for.
Awesome. I think that level of energy that you have when you're performing is so instrumental to the following that you have and why people respond so well. I mean, I, for one, got excited when you pull out a saxophone because, like, people love real-life instruments, and there is something very visceral and animal and instinctual about instruments that, along with synths, people just love. FrankJavCee, this has been rad beyond all belief. You know, I think I can speak for everyone when I say that you are such a big, important figure in this community, not just because of your music, but I think your personality makes a big role in that, and it was such fun to be able to interview you.
Thank you so much, Hannah Rose. And it's always so great hanging out with you, meeting you. Whenever you're in the room with me, it's always like a crazy cool experience, you know? Every time you show up, it's always fun. It's always a blast.
Stop it.
It's true though. Whenever we meet each other, it's like, oh, something cool's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's just the power of this community. I think we're all just a bunch of people who just want to have fun, and that alone just feels cool.
Yeah, we're finding that. We're growing a community of people that like to make cool stuff and like to experience it together. It's like our own Burning Man. I think one day we're going to have we need to have a giant Vaporwave festival outside. That's what I've been telling people. We need to find a place in the desert. We all show up. We all set up camps. It's all really nice and beautiful.
Well, on that note, FrankJavCee, thank you for joining me today. And everyone, don't forget to check out Frank's Twitter, Instagram, all those links. Check out his music.
Spotify.
And if you... Yes, Spotify. And if you want more interviews with other great people like him and more video essays about the music that great people like him make, then don't forget to like and subscribe to me, Soul Search and Destroy. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you and good night. Be good people.
See ya.